Okay, picture this. 1,000 years ago, an empire in South India decides to build something, well, something impossible. A structure so massive, so advanced, that even today, we're still trying to figure out how they pulled it off. This isn't just about a temple, it's a story about pure ambition, incredible genius, and secrets carved in solid stone.
Right, let's just cut straight to the chase. This is the big one. How in the world did they do it? We're talking no cranes, no hydraulics, no power tools, just sheer human ingenuity. Just let that sink in for a second.
80 tons. That is roughly the weights of a Boeing 737 airplane. And they didn't just lift it, they placed it with perfect precision on top of what was basically an ancient skyscraper. This one single stone isn't just a mystery, it's a monument to their mind-bending skill. So, who were these architectural wizards? Well, meet the Chola dynasty. For about 400 years, they weren't just kings and queens. They were visionary builders, creating an empire that would leave a legacy that, honestly, still puzzles and inspires us centuries later.
You see, for the Cholas, this wasn't just about putting up a building. This was a statement, a declaration of power. They were on a mission to create something that would literally last forever. And to do that, they had to invent engineering techniques that were centuries ahead of their time.
And this wasn't some flash-in-the-pan project. We are talking about a dynasty that ruled for 4 centuries. That golden age gave them the time, the wealth, and the stability to dream on a scale that almost no one has ever matched. And right there, smack in the middle of their reign in 1010 CE, they unveiled their masterpiece, the Brihadeshwara Temple.
So, how do you build something so revolutionary? Well, you don't always have to start from scratch. Sometimes you take an existing blueprint and you just perfect it. You push it to its absolute limits, and that's exactly what the Cholas did. That blueprint was called the Dravida style, and its signature feature is this incredible pyramid-shaped tower called a vimana. Think of it like a giant multi-layered cake where each level gets a little smaller as it goes up. It's designed to draw your eyes upward toward the sky. The Cholas saw this and thought, you know what? We can go bigger, way bigger. But they didn't just build up, they built out. They created what was basically a fortress of faith. It's brilliant, really. They used this system of concentric walls called prakaras to create a kind of spiritual journey. You'd move from the busy world outside through these massive gateway towers, getting closer and closer to the sacred heart of the temple.
And once you got inside, every single space had a specific purpose. It was a masterclass in organized design. You'd pass through the entrance hall, then into this grand assembly hall, and then through an intermediate space before you could reach the holiest shrine. The point is, nothing was random. It was all a carefully choreographed experience.
Okay, so they had the plan, they had the layout. Now let's talk about how they actually built it, because this is where things go from brilliant to just flat out unbelievable. This is where engineering becomes pure art. 216 feet. That's how tall the main tower of the Brihadeshwara temple is. To put that in perspective, that's like a 20-story building. Constructed 1,000 years ago. Just wow.
So how did they get it so high and so strong? Well, first, they used solid granite, one of the toughest stones on the planet. But here's the real kicker. They used absolutely no mortar, no cement, no glue, nothing. Instead, these massive blocks were carved so perfectly that they interlocked with each other like a giant 3D jigsaw puzzle held together by gravity alone. And of course, it was all topped off with that legendary 80-ton capstone.
But listen, if you're thinking this was all just about brute force and big numbers, you're missing half the magic. The Cholas were just as much artists as they were engineers.
And this says it all. These temples were basically living, breathing art galleries. I mean, the Cholas were famous for their incredible bronze sculptures, but the temple walls themselves were the canvas. Every single surface was carved with breathtaking detail, telling these epic stories from mythology and history.
All right, and here's where the story takes a turn you might not be expecting. If you're picturing these temples as just quiet, solemn places for worship, well, you need to think again. The Cholas built something way more complex and way more powerful. They didn't just create temples, they created entire temple towns. These weren't just buildings, they were self-sustaining cities. They were the epicenters of Chola society, the main hubs for the economy, for art and culture, for everything. And this chart just breaks it down perfectly. Look at this. 40% of its function was as an economic engine. It was also a cultural hub, a symbol of the king's power, and a community center. It was literally the heart of the empire, pumping life into every part of their society.
Through a clever system of land grants, these temples became the biggest landowners and employers around. Seriously, think of them like a modern-day megacorporation or a massive university campus. They managed farms, supported artists, and gave jobs to thousands of people, driving the entire economy of the region.
So, what happened to all this genius? Did it just disappear? No way. The legacy of the Cholas isn't just stuck in the past. It's all around us. And believe me, it was built to last.
Their architectural DNA literally spread across the ocean. You can see the Chola influence in the magnificent temples all the way over in Cambodia, Indonesia, and Sri Lanka. They created a design language so powerful, it shaped the sacred buildings of an entire region of the world. And the original temples themselves? They're still standing, strong as ever. For over 1,000 years, they've shrugged off monsoons, scorching sun, and the simple passage of time. It's a testament to the absolute brilliance of their design.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. Experts agree. This wasn't just another chapter in the history of architecture. This was a peak. This was, and I quote, a true pinnacle in Indian architectural evolution. And today, that legacy is protected for all of us. These aren't just ancient ruins behind a velvet rope. They're celebrated as the great living Chola temples, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. They are still active places of worship, still inspiring awe, and still very, very much alive.
Which leaves us with one last, really interesting question for you. What are we building right now that's going to last for a millennium? What modern marvels do you think people will be studying in the year 3024? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I really want to see what you think will last. And hey, if this blew your mind, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button for more jaw-dropping insights every single week.